Hello everyone, welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live on Monday and Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss. It is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. Here's my contact information. The best way to get in touch with me is through Discord. My name on Discord is Doug P. Also in Bookmap Discord, there's an Options-Doug chat channel. You can post questions, comments, and content related to the topics on my presentation and the topics of the channel that I'll go through in just a moment. I'm also on X. My name there is @DougPless. Here are the key tenets to my approach to trading. I believe that options trades and market maker hedging activity are key drivers of price in many stocks and futures. That's certainly the case for the large cap tech stocks like the Magnificent Seven stocks, as well as the equity index futures like the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100. And for the S&P 500, SPX is the underlying index, SPY is the ETF version of the index, and the ES futures contract is a derivative of SPX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in SPX and SPY, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with ES futures. And for the NASDAQ 100, NDX is the underlying index. QQQ is the much more liquid ETF version of that index. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX, NQ is a derivative of NDX. And when traders buy and sell puts and calls in NDX and QQQ, market makers take the opposite side of those trades and they hedge their delta exposure with NQ futures. The focus of my presentation today and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel is options order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading. The first is planning. I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned at the options market and how those positions change from day to day, and also from minute to minute to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as their directional bias. And the second step on my process is execution. I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis and for setups. And when I talk about setups today, I will be focusing on an underlying asset. Setups in that asset can be taken with futures contracts, shares of stock, or options, depending on the way you like to trade and the asset. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel as well as the chat and YouTube for your questions or comments. Please feel free to post. I'll do my best to answer your questions. Here's my agenda for today, Monday, March 3rd. First of all, I want to go over news items, economic data, events, and earnings for the week. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I'll review some setups from earlier today. Then I'll take a look at the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know. I'll be glad to do that. Also, we'll take a look at the S&P 500 and look for any end-of-day setups that may be happening. All right, so that is the agenda for today. Let's get started. Take a quick look at the Spotgamma dashboard home screen for events, earnings, and economic data this week. So this morning there was some manufacturing PMI data out. S&P Global PMI out at 9:45, and then the ISM PMI came out at 10 a.m. The global PMI was greater than expected, greater than the previous, and also greater than 50. And the ISM PMI data was less than expected, less than the previous number, but still greater than 50. So still indicating expansion. Coming up for the rest of the week, we'll take a look at those. There are some earnings that we can take a look at this week for earnings trades, either before or after. And then on Wednesday, there's more PMI data coming out. Services PMI, composite PMI, Wednesday, 9:45 a.m. S&P Global PMI data, and then at 10 a.m. ISM Services PMI. Thursday, jobless claims, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. Then Friday, the big data release of the week is the jobs report, 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time. And then Jerome Powell will be speaking at 12:30 on Friday afternoon. So quick scroll down. So you can see toward the end of the week, jobs report, and then Jerome Powell speaking at 12:30. All right, let's take a quick look at the earnings chart. Excuse me. Note I have requested that Spotgamma add some additional stocks to Hero. They have done that. And there are a couple of stocks here that report earnings after the close today. This ASTS, that was on my watch list for today, as well as SMR. Both the stocks were recently added to the list of hero stocks. More about that. Report earnings after the close today, and there could be some interesting moves tomorrow. And let's take a look at later on the week. CrowdStrike reports earnings, and that is after the close on the 4th, on Tuesday. And then on the 5th, after the close, this RGTI, that's a quantum computing stock. The time is not certain when it will report earnings. Zscaler, Marvell also report earnings after the close on Wednesday. Then Broadcom, Serve Robotics, all report earnings after the close on Thursday. All right, let's move on now to positional analysis. I'm going to start with the SP 500. This is the ES futures and Bookmap. Now trading down toward that's the lower daily expected move for ES, that light blue line. More about that in just a minute. So again, this is the ES futures and Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, let's step back, take a look at a higher time frame. I'm going to start with the SPX, the underlying index. Note now, SPX starting to break down below this upward linear regression channel. And essentially, SPX has been in a consolidation since November last year. Trading up and down in a range. And recently looks like maybe breaking down below that linear regression channel. All right, that is the SPX, a one-day, one-year chart. Let's take a look at a closer time frame for SPX. I'm going to go to a 30-day, 1-hour chart. And this is this support level. I've talked about this before, right around 58.32. And around that level was tested last Friday. Looks like SPX may be heading down toward that level again. But still within that large consolidation range. All right, let's take a look at the levels on this chart. I'm going to point out, first of all, the expected moves. The dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move. This is based on the options market, based on the closing price for SPX from last Friday. Those levels remain in place for the entire week. The dashed blue lines are showing the lower and upper daily expected move. also based on the options market. And note that SPX has broken down below the lower daily expected move. And, again, ES has its own, I do calculate the ES daily expected move independently, separately from the SPX lower daily expected move, or the expected moves. All right, so SPX now trading down below the lower daily expected move. All right, let's take a look at the Spotgamma levels on this chart. I'm going to point out the key daily levels. First of all, the put wall is at 5,800. That's a strike where the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. Next level up is 6,000. That's way up here. That is the absolute gamma strike. That's the strike with largest absolute positive and negative gamma. And that is also the volatility trigger. Spotgamma's proprietary volatility and gamma flip level. Below that level, like SPX is trading now, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to enhance or increase volatility when market makers are trading in the direction of price. And that is certainly what is going on now. Above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. In a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure. That tends to subdue or decrease volatility. And note SPX, again, firmly a negative gamma. And then finally, the call wall is up at 6,200. It remains at that level. That's a strike with the largest net positive gamma, and it can be expected to act as resistance. All right, so those are the key daily levels. The only level that shifted was the volatility trigger. Shifted slightly down to 6,000 now. So that was the only shift in the key daily levels. For SPX and for SPY, the absolute gamma strike did shift higher. All right, let's wrap up our view of SPX with a 1-minute chart. So there's that Friday low just above this longer-term support level. And it looked like, of course, this is the, and oh boy, hello, welcome, glad you're here. Asked, could I please analyze the ES spike on Friday's close? Thanks. I'm not going to have time for that, really, and I will refer you to the Spotgamma notes on and actually an email that came in yesterday evening for a much more thorough analysis or a thorough analysis of that spike. And there were some warning signs in the Friday AM founder's note about that potential. Mainly the high, the negative gamma up above. All right, so anyway, that's what happened. Large spike up. Looks like there was a little bit of continuation of that this morning, then a quick reversal. Reversal at the 0 gamma level. And looks like it was looking like a consolidation after that move on Friday, and then broke down maybe around 12:30. We'll take a 12:30, something like that. Broke down out of that consolidation. All right, that is a 1-minute chart. Let's go to Bookmap now. So in Bookmap, I have my own notes, my own levels here, so I can show SPX levels on this chart, SPY levels, and key ES levels. All right, so let me point out some levels. First of all, this reversal in the morning was right at the SPY 597 0 gamma level. support at the 591 level, resistance at the 595 volatility trigger. That's the SPY 595 volatility trigger. And again, that SPX 5964 zero gamma level. So the levels in the SPY and SPX levels doing a great job today of acting as key turning points. Again, support at the 591 level and resistance at the SPX 5950 level and the SPY 594 level just above that. Then that sharp drop down that happened about, looks like about 1245. And we'll talk about setups in just a few minutes. And Alberto asked how to find out the gamma levels. I get these from Spotgamma, spotgamma.com. That's where this information comes from. And I incorporate Spotgamma levels and information with Bookmap for my approach to trading. All right, so that is the S&P 500 levels in play. So far, right now, this light blue line, that is the ES lower daily expected to move, and then ES 5900 just below that acting as support. And the SPY 597 zero gamma level acting as resistance. Let's just take a quick look at the SPY chart. Zoom in on this just a bit so we can confirm. SPY 597 zero gamma level acting as resistance. Then the SPY 595 volatility trigger. Now this 590 level acting as resistance. And that 590 level is a large gamma 2 level. Acting as resistance here. All right, now there's a difference in price between ES and SPX. And today it is right around 11 points. So I'm showing SPX 5900, for example, at ES 5911. And I do post those index relationships that I'm using every day in Discord. All right, so that's the S&P 500. Let's move on to the NASDAQ now. Similar chart. Sharp drop at the open, just after the open. Consolidation for, looks like about 3 hours. Then a drop down right around 1245. Let's take a look at the underlying index charts. Start with QQQ. And for QQQ, 510 is a large gamma 2 level. So right after the open, 513, just a round number level, acted as resistance. During the chop, the 510 level, and a combo level just below that acting as resistance. Then again, 1245 price broke lower. That is QQQ. Let's take a look at NDX, the other underlying index. Hello, Stephen. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, cluster of levels. 21,000 large gamma 2, 988 zero gamma level. And then 864, 968 just below that. So we can see those levels on the chart here. All this cluster of levels. All right, that's NASDAQ. I'll talk more about setups in just a few minutes. Let's take a look at Gamma today. Then we'll wrap up positional analysis. Take a quick look at market maker Gamma notional at the beginning of the day. This kind of sets the stage for what kind of movement, volatility that you can expect at the beginning of the day. This is, again, market maker's position on the Gamma curve at the beginning of the day for the S&P 500, NASDAQ, and Russell 2000. Note all these numbers are negative. And remember it again, in a negative Gamma environment, this indicates traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, hence the negative Gamma. They have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. And these numbers, again, are negative, but they did become less negative than Friday. And that certainly will return around tomorrow, and I expect these numbers to be much more negative. All right, let's take a real-time look at Gamma now, market makers Gamma notional with the trace tool. This is more real time. Let's step back in time. So the red shading is negative Gamma, blue shading positive Gamma. Let's go back to about 10 minutes after the open, and you can see SPX shown with 5-minute candles there is in a region of positive Gamma, a pocket of positive Gamma, shown by the blue shading, with negative Gamma down below. So the expectation is also SPX is trading below the volatility trigger. And that is always something to pay attention to, looking for higher movement in negative Gamma, and especially if SPX breaks down below the positive Gamma into this negative Gamma region. And that's exactly what happened. Let's step through time. And the purple line that's close to price, that's the hero signal, is also moving lower. And let's take a look at one other thing real quick. Sorry about that. The stability index, moderate here at 52%, just at the open. Watch how that drops as we step through time into negative Gamma. And note now, all the red shading, SPX is firmly in negative Gamma right now. Oh boy, you're welcome. If you're not a Spotgamma subscriber, it's something worth a try. I think it's invaluable to trading, and there's no way that I will post that. That it would not be fair to Spotgamma or Spotgamma subscribers. So sorry about that. Yeah, it would have great educational value, but there's no way I'm going to post anything that's substantial in Discord. Again, that would not be fair to Spotgamma or its subscribers. All right, so right now, SPX trading firmly in negative Gamma, market makers trading with price, looking for faster movement. All right, so let's move on now. Let's take a look at some setups. And I'm going to start by taking a look at what options traders have been doing today. Let me shift to total here. Total signal, I'm going to have to jump back. All right, so I'm going to start again with the S&P 500. Take a look at what options traders have been doing today. This is the hero signal. This is showing, so we move from static data now to trace, which is updated every 10 minutes, to hero now, which is updated in real time. So what this is showing is options trades and market maker hedging activity, again in real time, for the S&P 500 index components. That's SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. The white line is price for SPX. The purple line is the hero signal. A falling hero signal indicates traders are taking negative delta positions, and a rising hero signal indicates traders are taking positive delta positions. Market makers take the opposite side of those trades, and they will sell or buy ES futures to hedge their delta exposure. And the key on this chart is all these peaks, indicating good entry points for shorts at these peak signals. Take a look at equities. Zoom in on this. So often the index signal provides, it's a little bit more noisy, but provides better indications of the turning points, whereas the S&P 500 equity signal, this is showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for all 500 stocks in the underlying index, S&P 500X. This is often it is closer to price action, confirms price action, whereas the index signal can often mark the turning points more clearly, since it is a more noisy signal. So what this is showing is just about 5 minutes after the open, traders were taking negative delta positions. Note there is a bump here. This large institutional order there, we'll track that down in just a few minutes. And that is, we'll track that down in just a few minutes, see where that is coming from. And I'll give you a clue in advance. It's some Mag 7 stocks. All right, so that is the total hero signal. Let's shift to puts and calls. And I'm going to go back to the index signal. Zoom in a bit. And we'll take a look at the opening here. For the first 5 minutes, traders were buying calls. Price moved up. Call buyers quickly took their foot off the gas. The flow alert signals potential shift in hedging flow. In this case, it was for the total signal, but for the calls, it went from positive delta to neutral. And then traders started buying puts, and price dropped lower. So let's go to Bookmap now. Go back to the S&P 500. Take a look at this first move lower. All right, so looking at order flow here in Bookmap, you can see as price moved up to the 597.0 gamma level, the volume dot shift from green, which is showing more aggressive buyers, buy minus sell, more aggressive buyers, aggressive sellers starting to come in, price moves lower, cumulative volume delta shown by that magenta line is falling. Aggressive sellers, sell stop orders shown by the yellow line help to fuel that move lower as traders are buying puts, taking negative delta options positions. So that's the short setup. First thing this just after the cash open this morning. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ, similar pattern, sharp drop lower. Just about 5 minutes after the cash open, aggressive sellers come in. Magenta dots shift from green to volume dots shift from green to magenta. Aggressive sellers move price lower, and that is really continuing. And so far today, iceberg orders, stop orders, cumulative volume delta, all negative for the day. Let's see what options traders are doing in NASDAQ. Back to Hero. All right, so in the S&P 500, Index signal, call buyers take the foot off the gas, start buying puts. And the equity signal, let's zoom in a bit. Initially, traders were selling puts. Remember that a little bit of continuation up in SPX, a gap up, just a little bit of continuation before the reversal lower. So we'll see what options traders are doing. They were buying calls initially, selling puts. They quickly started selling calls. Then these block orders come in. So this is on S&P equities. We can see large block orders, large institutional orders, buying puts and selling calls. And price continues to move lower. That's the S&P 500. Let's take a look at NASDAQ now. NASDAQ, again, a more noisy signal. Call peak pattern. Sets up a nice short in NASDAQ. NQ, futures or QQQ. Again, call peaks. Indicating good entry points for shorts. All right, let's move on to the MAG 7 signal. So again, remember in the S&P equity signal, that put and call signal, that was right before 950. Let's go to MAG 7. Zoom in. All right, so we know these large block orders were one or more of the MAG 7 stocks. Again, this is helping to set up a short in NASDAQ. And this is pretty bearish, I think, seeing these large block orders early in the morning. Again, buying puts, selling calls, large block orders. NASDAQ moves lower. All right, let's scan through the MAG 7 stocks now and then take a look at some other stocks. So any questions about the indexes so far? And we'll get back to the live market in just a few minutes. So let's do a little detective work here and see where these large block orders came from. Remember, they were just before 950. Zoom in on Apple. All right, so we know there was a large trader selling calls in Apple. Nice, kind of a rounded call peak pattern here, setting up a short in Apple. Flow alert comes in just before this reversal. So traders stop buying calls, start selling calls, start buying puts. Large block order, price moves lower. And then as the call sellers and put buyers take the foot off the gas, price consolidates. Let's take a look at Apple. Alice asked, how does this help my trading in real time? I just watch these hero signals. So that's what I'm doing. I'm watching order flow and hedging flow at the same time. And I'll take a look at the live market in just a few minutes. I want to review these setups and see that normally for stocks, especially, and even indexes, the biggest move is if you do trade based on what options traders are doing. Options start trading for equities at the cash open 9:30. So the biggest moves are often 9:30 to 10 to 10:30. All right, so I'm showing examples of how you could use this information. And I'll show many more examples today. So remember the call peak pattern, price reverses lower, short setup there. And Suresh asked, is there a liquidity zone indicator in Bookmap? Not quite sure what you mean, but I would say the heat map. That's what I use as indicating a zone of liquidity. So the heat map shows the history of limit orders in the order book, like right here for Apple. Those are limit sell orders at 243, and there was absorption at that level, and price reversed lower. All right, so that's Apple. Let's go back to Hero. So I want to go through these pretty quickly to see where these large block orders came from. Here's Amazon. Large positive and negative delta options positions. But there's the call seller coming in right before 950. In Amazon, take a look at Google. And Aless, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly, says, I'll be interested in the activity at ES 5900. Yeah, we'll get back and take a look at that. All right, so we're tracking down these large block orders. Also in Google here, traders selling calls, and then much larger block order buying puts. So these are bearish trades. Also, just looking before that, another kind of rounded call peak. Call buyers come in the first 5 minutes, quickly take the foot off the gas, start buying puts. Then this large block order comes in, and Google moves lower. Let's go take a look at Google and Bookmap. There's the move lower in Google. Price moves lower. All right, back to Hero now. We're tracking down these large block orders. Meta. Nice call peak pattern. Again, very similar. Price quickly reverses lower. Call buyers come in just the first 4 or 5 minutes. Full alert, call peak pattern. And Aless, this is a pattern that repeats over and over again that you can use. Very reliable, bearish reversal pattern here, this call peak pattern. A rush up in calls, traders buying calls, quickly reverses. And there's the block order. Looks like Meta found support right around the 665 hedge wall. Let's take a look at Microsoft. No block orders here really in Microsoft. Take a look at NVIDIA. Very bearish day here in NVIDIA. And that was pretty much from the case from the open. And NVIDIA was trading down lower before the cash open, unlike a lot of other stocks. So very bearish day. Traders selling calls from the open. And the put line has not moved much except for this block order. So flat, large block order, then slightly trending down. So a few traders buying puts, but they're definitely selling calls, and that's what's driving price lower. NVIDIA trading down below the 120 key gamma strike put wall. Let's take a look at NVIDIA and Bookmap. Bearish opening print. Looks like there have been some aggressive buyers coming in. You can see all the green volume dots here. But NVIDIA started to break lower down below the 120 level just before 1130 as traders continue to sell calls. All right, that's NVIDIA. Let's go back. And Les says selling calls driving price lower makes sense. So when traders sell calls, market makers buy the calls. Market makers want to remain delta neutral, so they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. All right, that's NVIDIA. Now let's wrap up our view of the Mag 7 stocks with Tesla. So we've been tracking down these large block orders. Go to Tesla. Choppy day in Tesla. Let's zoom in a bit. Earlier in the day, call peaks marking good entry points for shorts. All right, let's move on. Let's take a look at some other stocks. As I mentioned before, Johan asks, can I cover NASDAQ? Yeah, I'll get back to NASDAQ. Get back to the indexes in just a couple of minutes. All right, so as I mentioned before, let me open up something else here. I'm going to open up another Hero tab here. Take a look at Stock Screener. Maximize the bottom drawer here. All right, so this is a list of all the stocks that are available in Hero. So this is a subset of all the stocks that trade. So not every stock is available on Hero, but I asked Spotgamma to add some stocks that were in play to Hero. And here are some of the stocks. Archer Aviation, A-Lab. These are stocks that are some AI stocks, aerospace stocks, quantum computing stocks, nuclear energy stocks that have been in play recently and that have been moving quite a bit. Here's one that was on my watch list today, this ASTS. We'll take a look at that in just a couple of minutes. All right, so those, and I did post that list of stocks that have been added to Hero in Discord. So if you want to see that list of stocks, you'll have to go to Hero, and I did post that last Thursday. All right, so that's a list of stocks that have been added to Hero. All right, so let's take a look at some of those stocks. So let's start with ASTS. Forgot to add that tab. All right, so ASTS. Now, of course, these delta notional values are a fraction of what stocks like NVIDIA and Tesla trade, but they do have an impact on price. So this morning you can see in ASTS, traders are selling calls. Again, when traders sell calls, market makers buy calls, and they have to sell stock to hedge their delta exposure. Let's take a look at ASTS. There's the quick move lower. That's the opening drive. Again, for stocks, most of the move typically happens in the first 30 to 60 minutes of trade. Let me just check one thing here. This is the watch list that I did post in Discord this morning. And this is the change from the open. Change percent from the open. So you can see Robinhood, that's another stock that I did post. We'll take a look at that in just a minute. Down just a little bit over 10% today. And AST, Space Mobile, down right around 9%. So these stocks really move, and I think very good stocks for day trading. Lower price, large average true range do move around quite a bit. All right, so I did post this list in Discord every day. So a 3-point move lower in ASTS today. Quick drop down as traders are selling calls. Large percentage move from the open right now. Again, close to 9%. All right, two other stocks that I wanted to take a look at were not on that new list of stocks. They were already existing. They were already available in Hero. Here's one. Robinhood was up before the cash open, dropped sharply at the cash open. Again, down 10%. I did post this in Discord, this setup. So let's go take a look at Hero. So here's the setup that I posted. Again, a call peak pattern. This is a very reliable bearish reversal pattern, setting up a very nice short down to the 50 key gamma strike toward the 49 hedge wall. All right, so that's Robinhood. All right, there were number of other stocks. Here's Mara Digital Holdings. Let's zoom in on this. And initially, traders were buying calls. So these crypto stocks, Mara, Hood, Robinhood, Coinbase, were all trading higher pre-market based on a Trump tweet over the weekend. This was kind of a Trump pump and dump. They started, again, pre-market, Bitcoin, other cryptocurrencies up sharply based on the Trump tweet over the weekend about a strategic reserve, and then again, kind of a pump and dump. So in Mara here, initially traders are buying calls, call peak pattern as price was already moving lower. Traders stopped buying calls, started selling calls, and price continued to move lower. Note resistance at the 1550 call wall, and price broke below the 15 key gamma strike. So let's go back to Bookmap. Go to Mira. I didn't have time to draw the add price lines. Just draw a line like this, 1550. $15.50 call wall resistance. 15 is the key gamma strike. Around that level, just recently acted as resistance before the drop lower, right around 1245. All right, so Mara dropped from 1550 down to 14. So that's about a $1.50 move for a $15 stock. So equivalent to a 10-point move lower for a $150 stock. All right, so that's Mira. All right, let's get back to the live market now. Any questions about these stocks or the list of stocks that were recently added to Hero? All right, let's go back to the indexes. S&P 500. Looks like S&P 500 found support right around 5,900. And then a SPY 588 just above that. And also the ES lower than the expected move. Whoops. Here was that break into negative gamma, sharp, the red zone in the trace gamma heat map. All right, let's take a look and see what is happening now. All right, S&P heading lower, or looks like maybe heading lower. Maybe finding the resistance at SPX 5900. Let's take a quick look at Hero, see what options traders are doing. I'm going to shift to the total signal. Let's go back equities first. Equity signal shifting lower. S&P 500 also shifting lower. So just based on that quick look, I would be looking for a reversal lower here. Let's take a look at Trace. All right, so the S&P 500 still in negative gamma. Trading right around the SPX 5900 level. Let's take a look at delta pressure. Take a look at charm pressure. All right, so charm pressure is showing, this is time decay pressure, showing negative selling pressure for most of the day. Let's step back in time a little bit. So that was not the case earlier today. Blue showing buying support. Now as the S&P 500 has started to move lower, now a charm is showing selling pressure due to time decay. Let's go now to real time and a potential pinning target. Right here at 5,900. That is the zone of blue buying support below, red selling pressure above. All right, let's go back. And Johan went to take a look at NASDAQ. All right, we can take a look at NASDAQ. Let's go back to Hero. And we can take a look at NASDAQ index signal dropping sharply lower. Mag 7 signal flat right now. Back to Bookmap. And so far, order flow is showing a higher low, right, support around NQ 20,700 and QQQ 503. Let's go back to the S&P 500. Johan, did you have a specific question about NASDAQ? All right, SPX, ES, now actually breaking higher. Remember, charm is still showing potential pinning target at 5,900. So ES was making a series of lower highs, higher lows, higher highs, cumulative volume, delta rising. Few large traders coming in with iceberg orders, buy iceberg orders. Now the S&P 500 right back to 5,900. And Johan, you're welcome. Johan says, and NASDAQ, also the call spike reversal pattern. Yeah, so let's take a look at that. Go back to Hero. Let's shift to puts and calls. Go back to the NASDAQ signal. So again, we're looking at the SB Equities Mag 7 stock signals for more, just confirming the price direction, whereas the index signals typically often will show the turning points. So there's that first call peak pattern, setting up that nice short. Another call peak pattern. That's really when the consolidation began. Another call peak pattern right before the drop at 12:45. Right now the call signal pretty flat and traders continue to buy puts. That's in the NASDAQ signal. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. Looks like maybe a little bit of a trend break here. S&P 500 broke below that trend line now. Resistance at 5,900. Large traders took their foot off the gas with iceberg orders. Cumulative volume delta stopped rising. Let's see what options traders are doing. Go back. Let's go back to the total signal. Go to the equity signal. Trending down a little bit. Index signal also moving lower now. All right, so this is what I'm watching in real time if I'm trading the S&P 500 or NASDAQ. I have multiple screens. I have Hero on one screen, Bookmap, and then trading platform on another screen. So I'm watching all this at the same time, developing a thesis, anticipating what may happen, and looking for price reaction, order flow at these different key levels for setups. Let's go back and check trace again. All right, so this pinning target is actually showing at 59.05, but the largest positive gamma is at 5,900, and that is remaining in place. And Johan asked, do you know how the hedge wall is calculated? Is it just based on open interest? So I do not know how the hedge wall, that's for equities, or the volatility trigger for indexes is calculated. No, I don't know that. That's a proprietary calculation. I do know what it means and how price often reacts at that level. The volatility trigger or hedge wall can often act as support or resistance. And also I know, so right here, this is, let me shift over to Gamma. This is shown as the hedge wall. That is the name for that's an equity name. It's actually a volatility trigger for an index like SPX here. And, I know below that market maker's position on the gamma curve is negative, and I'm expecting larger movement in the volatility trigger. And again, it can often act as resistance. Let's go back to Bookmap. Sorry, it takes a little bit to zoom. So here's the SPY volatility trigger 595 acting as resistance. And that is expected behavior. So again, I know what it is, know how it works, but I don't know the calculation. All right, everyone, I want to thank you very much for watching. And if you have a particular interest, either in indexes or stocks, there's something you want to take a look at, please let me know, and you can post that in Discord. Again, I did post the stocks that were recently added to Hero. I did post that in Discord. So anyway, again, if there's something you want me to take a look at, and I'm spending too much time on stocks or too much time on indexes, please let me know in Discord, and I'll be glad to make any changes or show you anything that you're interested in taking a look at. All right, so everyone, again, thank you for watching. Thanks for your questions and comments. And remember, earnings coming up Wednesday, PMI data, and we'll talk about that on Wednesday afternoon. All right, everyone, thanks again for watching, and I will see you on Wednesday. Bye.